Big Blue Nation, welcome to Rupp Arena, home of the greatest tradition in the history of college basketball.
I'm not really a Kentucky fan. In fact, there have been some times when I've just rooted like hell for you to get beat.
All the way outside to Watford, 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Now, an Indiana season, the turnaround season to put them back on the map, is going to end in the Sweet 16. Much to be proud of. They beat a 1, they beat a 2, and they beat a 5 this season.
The Hoosiers are back, Jim.
Hoosiers are back, no question, and a huge recruiting class coming in.
That's right. Promising future.
But Kentucky is moving on. The Wildcats ratchet up the heat in the second half and go on to a 102-90 victory.
Short into the arms of Davis, and the superior team all season long was the superior team tonight, and the Kentucky coronation is complete. Champions 2012.
Let's talk sports. It's time for Alex Holder.
Everybody, welcome back in Holder's Big Blue Podcast, episode number 3. Tonight and continuing through this night, we just had a long spiel about Indiana high school basketball. This next episode, next part is going to be strictly college basketball. So if you are a college basketball lover, this is going to be your podcast to listen to. We're definitely going to get into Indiana high school basketball. I want to get in, not Indiana high school basketball, excuse me. Indiana
we just
Hoosiers.
did that for an hour and a half.
Yes, Indiana Hoosiers basketball. Definitely Kentucky basketball. But you're from Indiana. You grew up a Hoosier. You grew up a big Indiana fan. Bob Knight was a little bit before your time, but I'm sure you've heard plenty of stories. You've studied about him. I mean, that's just what Indiana fans do. What do you think about Indiana basketball right now?
I don't think good things about what's going on down there right now.
Yeah.
It's a little sad to see the direction that the program's gone in. It was resurrected a little bit in the Tom Crean era. It's the
Watford shot.
Oh, with the Watford shot, yeah. Which the Indiana fans that are still hanging on to that need to let it go. Now,
Thank you for saying that.
When it is the 10th of December, however, I do make a little post about it. Remember the 10th of December.
As long as you're not okay with it being put on a popcorn box and it like them reenacting it at halftime, like that's a little bit like, dude, like Kentucky,
I think it's good to honor the history of it. But
well, dude, we just beat Mississippi State 2 nights ago on a buzzer beater, and guess what? We'll stop talking about it next week. Yeah. And we also beat Michigan in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four, and on a buzzer beater. And we don't even and in the Final Four against Wisconsin, and we do not
Aaron
celebrate
Harrison.
that. Yeah, Aaron Harrison.
Beyond
we do not
belief.
celebrate that like you all celebrate the Watford shot, and those were actually meaningful games.
Here's the thing about what was, I think Indiana fans still do with the Watford shot is because at that time, again, when the program was trying to be resurrected by Tom Crean, that was a good turning point to get it going in the right direction. I mean, one of the quote. I mean, I watched.
Well, he had nobody. He had nobody. I mean, he had nobody when he came in because because of the whole Kelvin Sampson, and Dan Dockich took over, and
for like 7 games.
Yeah, I mean,
and then he had to build the program from scratch. I mean, that wasn't in his first year. He was about 3 years already into the job.
Right.
I think I go back and watch that game or watch that shot every once in a while. And Dick Vitale, who was doing the game, said, quote, "This will provide huge momentum for the program."
Yeah.
And it did. It sparked Indiana.
The next season.
It sparked the rest of the season, which was really good. They went
that too. Yeah.
They made the NCAA tournament, and it sparked a really it sparked Indiana to kind of get back to where they wanted it to be.
I guess where I was going though is it sparked you all getting the recruits for the like Cody Zeller and Yogi.
Well,
and like
Zeller was already there. He was already on that.
Was
team.
he?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I mean, wait, Yogi wasn't on that team though, right?
Yogi wasn't yet.
So that was Yogi, Peter Jerkin. Always thought that was a funny name.
Yeah. I forgot about Peter Jerkin.
Who else came in that class? The next class.
I think a guy named Hanner Mascara Perea.
Yeah, I remember.
You remember? Hey, I'm asking my dad. Do you remember Hanner Mascara Perea? Was he any good?
Apparently not. If we don't remember.
Apparently not. Apparently he wasn't very good.
And Peter Jerkin, he was like 7 feet tall, and he just wasn't very good.
Yeah, he wasn't very good.
But go ahead. Yeah.
But anyways, that shot provided great program, or momentum for the program. But
I don't know why I forgot Cody Zeller was on, because he was clearly on the Watford shot team, and he clearly got beat in the in the tournament by my Cats. But we'll get back. Go ahead. Sorry.
But going back to your original question again, I think it started to go in the right direction with Tom Crean.
Yeah, it did.
It's a shame. I watch some of the things that go on now, and it's kind of a shame that they got rid of him. Now, the reason they got rid of him, the reason they got rid of him was because he was he was so anal behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I think kind of created some issues behind the scenes. Again, a great on-court guy. I think people didn't really like the antics that he provided. Pacing up and down the sidelines, which I don't have an issue with that. I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. Pacing up and down the sidelines, bringing energy. One of my favorite videos to watch on YouTube is actually someone made like a tribute video to him when he got fired at Indiana. And it plays this song in the background and shows highlights of when they were good and everything. And
was he pacing a lot? Was he pacing a lot on the video?
He was pacing a lot.
Yeah, I know. I remember that. I mean, I remember that for sure.
He tried to take the program into good heights. I don't remember the Kelvin Sampson era. My dad could probably tell you more about the Kelvin Sampson era, but
you all were good. You all were like Houston. You had a great
Eric
team.
Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, you had Jordan Crawford, which Joe Crawford, he played at Kentucky. And Brandon, who I interviewed last night, played with Joe Crawford at Kentucky. Okay. Jordan Crawford played at Indiana. DJ White was on that team.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember all the other names, but basically from what I gathered from it was Kelvin's. And I mean, if you listen to Dan Dockich, like
I do,
they just lost the locker room. Like,
kind of, but that wasn't why Sampson got fired.
There was too many phone calls, but
yeah, Sampson
which was
got
stupid
fired because it was illegal at the time.
Which was really stupid.
It's pretty much legal now, but it wasn't at the time. And I don't know. I wasn't old enough to remember it, so I couldn't really tell you.
Oh yeah, I remember
what
watching.
Happened.
I remember watching you all play Purdue, and you might be too young for this, which the old Verizon commercials, it'd be like, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?" Yeah. So like,
you
know the yeah. Well, that was the old, yeah. So you definitely don't remember those commercials, but that used to be an old Verizon commercial, and I remember watching a Purdue Indiana game right after it had happened, and a Purdue fan in Mackey was holding up it was pretty funny. Like, can you hear me now? Good. And it had like Kelvin Sampson's head on the Verizon guy's head. It was pretty good. It's pretty good. But in my opinion, that rule is BS. Like, I mean, and that's coming from a very big Kentucky fan, like just a really BS rule. But from what Dan says is, they were smoking weed, like not in the locker room, but like just like.
Yeah, and he, when he was the coach at Bowling Green, he had to kick dudes off the team.
Yeah.
but again, going back to your original question, I think that the program is obviously not what it. The program, they want to get it back to where it was
of course.
between where it was from 1971 until September 10th, 2000, when Bob Knight got fired, and it's just not going to be like that. And now when Mike Woodson came in, I think they got the hire right at the time. I'm not sure I disagree with the hire. I think when he came in, he did the right thing because Trace Jackson Davis, number one, was going to go to the NBA.
Yeah.
And Mike Woodson, the pitch to get him to stay was he went in and he made a highlight tape, not a highlight tape, actually a low light tape of everything that Trace Jackson Davis had done wrong over 2 years at Indiana.
Right.
And he showed him this video, and the video was like an hour long.
Yeah.
And finally, about 45 minutes into it, Trace Jackson Davis was finally like, I haven't seen one thing I've done right in here. And Mike Woodson was like, yeah, absolutely. And this is why you need to come back to Indiana. He goes, because if you're going to go to the league,
he's an NBA guy.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's Indiana could be attractive to come play there because kids want to play for a guy that knows people in the league. They want to go to the NBA. It's just a stepping stone. College basketball has just become a minor league, a farm system for the NBA.
Hey, are you telling me that as a Kentucky fan?
Yeah.
Dude, I've been dealing with this. I've been dealing with this for like 13 years.
You should know with the one and done.
Trust me, I know all about it.
Bringing in Jalen Hood-Schifino was big. The first 2 years, really the first year, beating Purdue at home.
You all got back. You all got them back because they had your number.
They had beaten Indiana like 8 times in a row.
Yeah.
It was like the last 4 years they had beaten Indiana every time, and winning that game at Assembly Hall was a big. Again, it's a big momentum booster for the program.
And Hood-Schifino hit the shot in the corner, right?
No, that was Rob Finney. That was the year before Jalen Hood-Schifino came in.
That's right.
Schifino was only there for 1 year.
Right. Okay. I'm sorry.
But Rob Finney, who was from Lafayette, went to McCutcheon High School, passed up on going to Purdue to come play at Indiana for Archie Miller. And it was the last time he was going to play Purdue at Assembly Hall, hit the shot to win. That was a fun win. That was a good win for them.
See, and I thought Archie Miller at the time, I thought he was a home run hit. I really did.
I didn't. I didn't. And here's why, because
he wasn't. So,
he wasn't. I think Archie Miller is one of those guys where should have just stayed at Dayton.
Mm-hmm.
Should have just stayed at Dayton. Should have never left Dayton.
He had it going on there. Yeah,
he did. He had success at Dayton. There's a lot of guys that at that kind of mid-major level that Dayton's at can't make the jump to the Power 5 level.
And you also thought because of his brother at Arizona.
True.
Sean.
And his brother's a great coach.
Sean, right? Sean Miller. Yeah,
Sean's a great coach.
He is.
Going to be the next
Xavier
coach at Ohio State.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And so, but Archie, people don't give him credit. That dude actually won them some big games.
Yeah.
Actually, like the year with Romeo Langford, which, by the way, may have been the biggest bust in the history of Indiana basketball.
I just don't think he knew how to use him.
5-star recruit.
Yeah.
5-star recruit. You bring him in, one of the greatest high school players ever. And, he had a decent season.
He did.
He had a decent season the year he was there. I don't think he lived up to the expectations. People thought he was, a first team All-American, which again had a decent year, made some big plays and big moments, like beat Louisville that one year, beat Marquette that one game, beat Michigan State twice.
Yeah,
beat them on the road, them on the road, and beat them at home. Both in games that came down to the wire.
Hey, anytime you win in the Breslin Center, that's a big dub.
Well, sure. Anytime you win on the road in the Big Ten, it's a big win.
Right.
The Big Ten is so tough when it comes to that. And like tonight, like Ohio State, who's not having a great year, beats Nebraska at home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Nebraska was probably favored going into that game.
Right.
So it's hard to win. It's hard to win on the road in the league. But anyways,
But do you think that maybe Archie just didn't know how to use Romeo?
I'm not sure he
Because
didn't. I'm not sure he didn't know how to use him because I think that's a bunch of crap. I don't believe in coaches not knowing how to use someone. I
okay,
mean because guys are. I mean, how do you not? I mean, how do you not know how to use someone? If
well,
you have a guy, if you have a guy who's 6'10",
yeah,
what do you think he should be doing? Then go
I
make
mean,
him
yeah,
do that. Go have him do that.
I will just
I
say.
agree. I don't agree with it to an extent.
I
No.
will just say, being a Kentucky fan, the last 5 years, Kentucky Calipari has not used a lot of guys the way that he should have. But that's up for debate. Every coach is different. Um, but again, Romeo, I was rooting for that kid just because he's a Southern Indiana kid
I
from
was
New
too.
Albany. Obviously, and then of course for you going to IU, that was pretty awesome. Um,
We all
but
wanted him in Indiana.
yeah, well, and
Everybody in Indiana wanted him in Indiana, and
of course. I mean, he was
uh,
he was a stud in high school. I
he
mean,
was. And again, I wouldn't say he was a stud, and he had an okay year the year he was there. Injuries kind of hurt him. They were, I believe, a 1 seed in the NIT that year.
that's just
And he
yeah,
didn't play in the NIT, obviously getting ready for the NCAA or getting ready for the NBA draft.
right.
But that year didn't meet expectations. The following year, when he was gone, they actually weren't that bad.
Yeah.
Actually, would have made the tournament under Archie if it didn't get canceled. They would have made it as like a 5 or 6 seed.
That year sucked, man. That was
Yeah, that
tough
was such a
because
fever dream year.
because Kentucky, we that was the year we lost to Evansville. So we lost to Evansville at the
Yeah,
beginning of the season. We were number one in the country. Um, how that sucked. But anyways, we had some fits throughout the year, and then we finally find our groove at the end of the season. We go down to Florida. We're down, I think, like 16, 17, 18, something like that. And we come back on the road at the O'Connell Center, come back, beat them. I can't remember. We had a win streak going then, but like we looked like it's like Emmanuel quickly was coming into his own. Now he's a stud in the NBA.
yeah.
Nick Richards was finally coming into his own, who's also in the NBA. And we finally just looked like we had turned the corner. And then, I mean, dude, I was packing my bags to go down to Nashville for the SEC tournament.
And
And
it got canceled.
boom, it gets like I just remember watching. I had Sports Center on or ESPN or whatever the hell I had on. I'm packing my bags, and the Rudy Gobert thing comes out. He touches the microphone with his face or whatever. You remember that? And
Mm-hmm.
he gets COVID fumble, and
Yeah, freaking dropped my water bottle, spilled.
he
Dad,
he gets he gets COVID, and from like then on, dude, like everything just gets
Yeah,
canceled. It's like a trickle effect,
yeah.
and I think a lot of teams got screwed.
Dayton being one of them.
Yeah, dude, yeah, Obi Toppin, weren't they going to be like maybe a number one or number
Yeah,
two?
they I think would have
Yeah,
been maybe the number one overall seed in the tournament.
which that's just crazy, but
I
they
know,
were
a
they
team
were
out of the
good.
A10.
Yeah, they were good. And Obi's brother Jacob, he played for Kentucky.
Yeah,
He wasn't there yet, but he was still at Rhode Island. But
which is where Archie's at now.
yeah, and they're horrible this year. But
They
I'm
suck.
assuming
Yeah,
is that his first year at Rhode Island?
yeah.
Yeah, because I watched a little bit of because Dayton's pretty good this year. They've been in the top 25 for most of the year, and I've just kind of I caught their game against Rhode Island in his return back to Dayton, and like
Mhm.
I saw their record was like below 500. It was
And that
horrible.
was the game that they were coming down in transition, and he was standing halfway out on the
Oh, dude,
floor.
he's like, yes. I'm like, bro, like get on your side,
Yeah,
like get out of here, like you're like guarding the dudes on the floor, like you know. But back, not to get too off track, back to Indiana basketball.
right.
Where where are we at? Because for me, Indiana's not relevant right now. And when
No,
when 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 Indiana for college basketball to be college basketball, Indiana needs to be relevant. in my opinion.
Yes.
It's like Kentucky needs to be relevant. North Carolina needs to be relevant. Kansas, Duke, all the blue bloods need to be relevant. And
Indiana is not a blue blood.
You're an Indiana fan, so I'm not. I mean, I would agree with that.
At one time, yeah, they were.
I would agree with that, but I'm going to piss a lot of people off back home by saying that. But dude, UConn, I think is more of a blue blood right now.
UConn is. Villanova is.
Yeah, they've won 2 titles.
Indiana is not anymore. If Indiana, I think, were to win and start winning consistently and winning Big Ten championships and getting and making deep runs, going to the Final Four, winning and at least playing for national championships, then you could maybe throw them back into that conversation. But
and it's sad.
It is sad because at one time they were. They were the team. They were the team that was the face of college basketball at one time. Like now, the team that's the face of college basketball is Duke. And it's going to be Duke for a while. It's going to be Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, North Carolina.
Yeah, those are the
four teams that are kind of the face of college basketball, which is why they're blue bloods.
We've got to win.
At one time was like that.
We've got to win this March, though. We've had a tough time here too, and not like Indiana, but to our standards. See for Kentucky, we got really spoiled at the beginning of John Calipari's years, like the John Walls, the Anthony Davises, like
the Marcus Cousins.
Yeah, like dude, we were going to the Final Four every year, every other year, whatever. And it sucks because I feel like we just got spoiled at the beginning. And so now we just expect it every year. And for me, I think college basketball in general is just in a transition phase, especially with like NIL. But I also think that the game itself is transitioning from just no, like, defense just isn't like a main priority anymore, which is sad because like I was talking with Brandon last night on our podcast, and like the Kentucky basketball teams I grew up with is like, we're going to get in your face, physical basketball, like we're going to jump on the floor after every loose ball, like you're not getting past me type of defense, you know? Now
the game is always going to evolve.
It's going to change. Yeah, it's going to change. It is. And
it always has. I mean,
and it's just like Bobby Knight. That's kind of why maybe he just couldn't. The way he was coaching at the end of it, just couldn't. Couldn't keep up with it. And it's kind of like Cal right now. But he's got a team. He's got a team this year that they're finally playing the style of basketball that you have to do to win basketball games now. And that's shoot, run and gun. See, he's used to the dribble drive and a team that can play defense as well.
No, I hate to cut you off. It's just
go ahead.
We were talking about Tom Crean. I'm watching Gonzaga in San Francisco right now, and he's on TV on the studio in ESPN.
I've got it on right down here. I just wasn't watching.
Yeah.
That's funny.
He's on my screen right now. But yeah.
So funny story about Tom Crean. I don't know if I've told you this story, but this was my senior year of high school. I was covering the Southport Rights game. This is when Rights had Jalen Sanford, Alex Stein, Nate Hansen, Mario. Who else am I forgetting? Jalen Sanford, obviously, he played at Toledo. Drew Smith, who played at Evansville and then transferred to Missouri. Nate and Alex both played at USI. Just studs. And I went up there to basically cover them because they were number 1 in the state, or they were top 5. They were playing Southport, who had Jalen Suggs and Joey Brunson.
They had Paul Scruggs,
not Jalen Scruggs. Sorry, Paul Scruggs, who would end up going on to play he played at Xavier, and then Joey Brunson played at Ohio State and Indiana.
Don't remind me. He was terrible. Indiana, then went to Ohio State, but he was terrible. He was one of my least favorites. Could not stand that dude.
Well, Tom Crean was there. I'm sitting on media row because I'm there covering the game for the Boonville Standard, which is back home. And I'm covering the game. I get there probably, I don't know, 2 hours early or whatever. And I'm sitting there on media row and I'm just sitting there. Like I've got my UK hoodie on. It's at Southport. Southport's gym is like awesome. Like awesome.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
8,000.
One of the greatest. Yeah.
Yeah. It's stud gym. For the people back at home, or not back at home, but for the people that have never been to Southport, it's up by Indy. Louis Dampier, who played for Kentucky, he went to Southport. Anyways, He played for Adolph Rupp. But anyways, I'm sitting there wearing my Kentucky stuff. All of a sudden, right next to me, Tom Crean just sits down right next to me. His wife Harbaugh right next to him.
Jody.
Yeah, and I'm like, I mean, it's a packed house because this is number 1 versus number 5 or whatever it was. And I'm the only one in the gym probably wearing a Kentucky sweatshirt. And I'm sitting right next to Tom Crean. So I can just see people looking at me like, look at that idiot sitting right next to Tom Crean with his Kentucky sweatshirt on, and I'm just eating it up. Like I love every bit of it, and I asked Tom, I say, hey Tom, can I get a picture real quick? And his wife, Jody, she steps around the table, takes the picture. And I think when I'd asked him for the picture, he didn't realize that I was wearing a Kentucky sweatshirt. Because for the rest of the game, he was not very nice. like dude was like stealing my stat sheet without even asking the rest of the game, and he was like slapping it down on like I could just tell he was pissed because he just knew that I kind of like didn't take advantage of him, but like I don't know.
See, to me, I would.
It was cool though. It was
I
cool.
care about that stuff.
No, but it was awesome. It was cool for me because I was a senior in high school, and I just thought it was awesome. I thought it was cool that I got to sit right next to Tom Crean, head coach of Indiana basketball, and I'm wearing a Kentucky sweatshirt sitting right next to him. But if you know me, that's just me. That's just me. I love it.
Tom Crean's a guy that I'd really like to meet.
Yeah, I mean, and I actually met him a couple of years prior. I think I was in like 8th grade. I met him at one of the basketball facilities up there in Indy. Hell, it might have even been in Southport. But walked right up to him, took a picture with me, easy in, easy out. I just think when he found out I was wearing the Kentucky sweatshirt, I just kind of remember his wife like whispering to him, like Harbaugh whispering to him and being like, he's wearing a Kentucky sweatshirt. It was awesome though. It was awesome. But anyways, back to where Indiana basketball is now. Let's get into Mike Woodson. What do we, because I know you said at the time you thought Mike Woodson was the right hire. In my opinion, I didn't think so.
I didn't think so. I did at the time. I did it from a different standpoint because, again, like I said, guys want to play for a guy who has connections to the league because, again, they want to go to the NBA.
Yeah.
He has that. Mm-hmm. So in that aspect, I think it was a good hire.
Yeah.
At the time, Indiana, I think the answer was to go get an Indiana guy that knows the brand.
Right.
And I think you went in the right direction. I think you had the right idea. Here's the thing. This is where the rant comes in.
Yeah.
I kind of wish my dad would get out here. Here's where the rant comes in because you have a staff where I look at that staff and what in the world does Yasir Rosemont sitting on that bench know and can contribute to basketball? That guy's an AAU coach. That guy's an AAU coach that made his way up and is sitting on a bench somewhere.
Right.
If you watch a game, and I know Dockets has harped on this before, and it was
kind of funny. That video was awesome.
Well, it's not a video; it's just a tweet. If you watch an Indiana game, you'll see like Mike Woodson sits in the seat, and then the first guy on the seat is a guy that like no one even knows who he is. Like you recognize the face, you wouldn't know what his name is. And Dockage tweeted one time and said, "What the hell does the guy in the first seat know?" and somebody replied with everything that guy's done in his career and like was a really good player and coached in the NBA. But I mean, what's that guy really providing? He's just sitting there on the bench.
Yeah.
You look at Brian Walsh, the white guy that sits there. Now I've met Brian Walsh, and he was really nice to me. Phil Martelli actually introduced me to him. He's a nice guy. He's just getting into basketball. He worked his way up. He was a GA. Worked his way up, got to the top, got to the pinnacle, but he ain't really helping. And then who knows with Kenya Hunter? I don't even know anything with that guy. So I just think his staff is not helping him.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't think even if they try to help, I don't think he wants them to help.
Yeah.
Let me do it my way. It's my way. Well,
Yeah.
Mike, your way is not working right now.
Yeah.
You have a team that shoots at a low 3-point percentage. There's some adjustment that needs to be made in practice with how well you can shoot the basketball. I mean, you have Trey Galloway who's shooting like sub 30% from three, a guy that was shooting above 35% from three in his first 3 years at Indiana.
Right.
And he can't throw it in the ocean this year. You have Khalil Ware, who may be one of the biggest, I can't even say the word, but you know what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
He's one of the biggest, B words out there.
I would just say prima donna. I would say prima donna.
He's a prima donna.
A diva.
He's a diva. He's not physical inside. He's too scared of getting hurt. There's a picture from the Purdue game of him and Zach Edey going after a loose ball. Zach Edey, 7'4".
I remember this play. Yeah.
Diving on the floor for a loose ball.
And he just stands there.
And Khalil Ware, instead of getting on the floor diving after, is bent down trying to pick up the basketball because he didn't want to get on the floor.
Right.
Come on.
That's not Indiana basketball.
No, it's not Indiana basketball. You're right. And there's times where he will come out and have a good game, and he'll put up, like the other night, he put up 27 points and 11 rebounds. Great job. Helped us win the game, but it's like, why can't you do that every time? You would be an unbelievably great player at Indiana if you could produce that every single time you went out there on the floor.
Well, and Malik Renew's a stud. I like him.
I like him too. I feel bad for him because I think he
gives it his all.
He's going to transfer.
I'm sure
he's out, or he's going to try to go to the league.
I think. I mean, is Woodson going to be there? Is he going to be there next year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll have the job as long as he wants it. They're not going to get rid of him unless he does something, unless the next 2 or 3 years they are absolutely abysmal. I could if I were him, and I had people in my ear telling me this, I would pull. I think I'd almost pull the health card and say, my health's not well. I mean, you look at Mike Woodson, you look at the way he moves. He's got a bad back. You look at the seat he sits on the bench. If you watch the game, you know that big cushion.
Yeah.
That's on the bench. That's almost. It's really, really. It's like this thick.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
it's like this thick. Like it's huge.
He's like 2 feet taller than everybody sitting on the bench.
Yeah. He it's for his back. And like I actually saw a picture of him speaking at an event where like people were in chairs and he actually was like sitting on an elevated stool.
Right.
It's just something to do with his back. Like he doesn't have good health. He looks like he's high half the time. He doesn't move right. And one of the things that gets me with him is after a game, and this is the big thing. If you listen and you watch the press conferences, it's everyone else's fault but his. It's not anyone else's fault, or it's everybody else's fault but mine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Well, Malik, man, he just should have gone after rebounds, man. He just should have gone after those rebounds.
Yeah, that's pathetic.
I just or it'll be, man, X was terrible tonight. I mean, he was just terrible, man.
That sucks.
And then sometimes he'll take accountability and be like, I have to be better.
Yeah.
but he's not holding himself accountable, which I'm sorry, it starts at the top.
Oh, it always does. We've had the same thing with Cal. I mean, he won't call out players, but like this year when it's not going good, he's like, blame it on me, and we're like, dude, the whole fan base has been blaming it on you all season long.
I know, but I think he's doing the right thing when he says that, because
No, he is.
really,
He's trying to
really,
protect his guys, and
yeah,
I
really, you
respect
don't,
that.
yeah, you don't need to be going after players
No,
like
not at
that
all. Not at all.
in the media.
These guys are
Go,
college kids.
go after the coach. Now you see with my radio job, there are some coaches where you do go after them and they get mad at you for going after them. I can think of one here in our area where I've tried to, be like, why'd you do that? And be like, oh, well, why does it matter why I did that? When I've
Right.
interviewed him, and he gets mad. And,
So,
but that's high school. This is college.
So I can't remember if it was Dan Dockage that I listened to. We've talked a lot about Dan tonight, but it goes back to his rant on that on that video that I talked to you about via text message. He said, was it him? It was either him or I read it somewhere else. It was like this was a retirement job for Mike Woodson.
I'm not. He probably, that's something he could have said, and
I don't want to get that wrong, but
it's almost like it's a victory lap for him.
Yeah.
Like you look at you remember John Beeline, who was the coach at West Virginia, coached at Michigan.
Yep.
He stepped down from Michigan to go be the coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm not even sure lasted a full season. It was like a victory lap for him. It's the end of my career. I'm back, for Mike Woodson, it's the tail end of my career. I'm 65 years old. I'm back at home, always had big connections, stayed close to the program. Actually, one of my favorite pictures from the Archie Miller era was Archie at practice, and Mike Woodson came to the practice with Larry Brown, who was the old coach of the Pacers, coached at Kansas for forever, who actually coached at Kansas, and John Calipari was an assistant under him at Kansas.
Okay.
When he was just first starting to coach.
That's where he met his wife Ellen at, was at Kansas.
I've heard that story. I watched the Graham Benzinger interview with him.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen that one.
I don't know if I have.
I'll send it to you. Yeah. It's like an hour long, but it's all uncut. It's just them talking like in the Kentucky practice facility. It was really good.
That's pretty cool.
But he had Larry Brown with him, and Archie is kind of leaned over talking to him or whatever. Larry Brown's sitting there, and Mike Woodson has this look on his face while Archie's talking to him, like, what are you talking about? That's just the way it looked. And that picture resurfaced when he got hired, and it was like now, and like people are like, now it all makes sense why he looked like that.
Because he knew what Indiana basketball was about. He didn't think
that, and I'll be honest with you, I think and this is what I've heard. See, there was a guy that played at Indiana back in the day who would have played with Woodson in the early 80s named his name was Wayne Radford. And Wayne Radford passed away. He died a few years ago before Woodson it was like right before Woodson got the job. So, and him and Wayne Radford, I think, were like really good buddies. So he went to the funeral. Mike Woodson goes to the funeral in Indianapolis for Wayne Radford, and Scott Dolson, the athletic director, who, by the way, is one of the greatest people at remembering names, remembers everybody's name, Scott Dolson. And he goes to the funeral, and from what I've heard, it's like he tells Scott Dolson, like, hey, if this job comes open, I want it. I want this job.
Yeah.
And so when they fired Archie, I think they already had known they were giving it to Mike Woodson before they had even fired him. I think they already had hired him. I think it was a done deal. Here's my thing is that what I find so cool when I go back and watch these videos is Bob Knight, when he came back to Assembly Hall for the first time since he had gotten fired publicly. They had all the former players come back, everything. They brought him out, people. It was such a great thing. And it really was. It was a great thing.
Yeah.
But you see like Mike Woodson come out there, and he's out there on the floor. And every time I watch this, I'm like, man, I cannot believe I'm like Little did anyone in that building know that just over a year later he was going to be the next head coach at Indiana.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I just think that's so. I think it's a little surreal because it's like, who would have thought? You
Right.
know, Mike Woodson was not my first. Mike Woodson
Yeah.
was not my first thought on who was going to get. I wanted it. Well, I wanted it to be Brad Stevens.
Oh, of course. That's every Indiana.
You
I mean,
know,
that's every Indiana fan's dream, and um, he would be a home run hire. I mean, I guess maybe the
yeah.
NBA money is just too much. I also think he just doesn't want to deal with the fan base in college. You
Well,
know?
he turned down. He turned the job down. Brad
No,
Stevens.
yeah, no, I know, yeah, and that
They were
was
going to offer him $10 million.
yeah. I mean, because Crean got there in '09.
08, 09, something in there. Yeah.
Okay,
Because he got fired in 2017.
right.
Which I remember where I was when he got fired. I think I was sitting in class in like 6th grade. He got fired. And it kind of sucked. Because I liked him. I really did. I miss him. You
So
know.
for me, the Tom Crean deal at the end, um, and I think you will agree with this just based off of everything else you've said. Um, for me, Indiana fans, they won't like me saying this, but since you all haven't been relevant, I think Tom Crean, like that's what it is right now. And
What do you mean?
he may not be going to a Final Four every year. He may not be um, going to the tournament every single year, but he's at least recruiting guys that can play. He's when he I mean, he had some good teams. I
No,
mean,
he nailed some of his recruiting
he
classes.
beat Kentucky.
Absolutely.
He beat Kentucky twice.
Yeah, beat him
Um,
in the NCAA tournament.
yeah, and I was heartbroken because I was a freshman in college and I had to listen to all my friends from back home. I had to
Again,
turn my.
one of the greatest pictures of that is they're cutting to a timeout there, and Tom Crean,
Oh, I
it's
don't
like
want to hear
slow
about it.
motion there. He's like pointing like this, and then they cut over to Calipari, and he's going,
Yep.
just
And I
throwing his
love
hands up.
and I love that Kentucky team because that was my freshman year at UK. So like I was around these guys.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray, Tyler Eulis was just awesome. But you all also had Yogi, same type of player. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
just a generational like like point guard that you just love. And so that game sucked for me because I was on my way home from Fort Lauderdale on spring break, and we had to stop in some small town in Georgia to B-dubs and watch that crap, and it sucked.
I
But
don't
my
travel in March. I don't
that's
go on
smart.
vacation.
That's smart. That's
Actually, my
smart.
senior year of high school last year, one of my friends was wanting me to go on vacation with him for our senior spring break. And I was actually like planning on going. I was like, oh, yeah, it'll be great. Yeah, we'll have fun. And then the more it started inching closer to it, I was like, I kind of just want to be home
Don't
and
know if
watch
I want to do this.
basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I don't, and I don't regret not going because, um, why? Why? I've already told him this. My dad's like, be careful. I don't regret not going because when they were in the car driving to Florida was when Purdue beat Fairleigh Dickinson.
Yeah.
And so when I watched that game at home, I was like, it was one of those games where like it was like you were standing up next to the TV watching it
You mean when Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue?
when Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was one of those things where like the way I react to games in the tournament like that, like when I'm just sitting here at home,
Yeah.
I couldn't have been in a car with people
Right.
driving down it. I couldn't have done it. I physically couldn't have done it. Um I mentally don't think I could have done it because what if we're driving through the middle of Georgia and that game's coming down to the wire and I lose internet or I lose service.
Dude, you don't understand. You don't understand when
Which, by the way, it is 12:01 on March 1st right now.
hey, let's go, baby. It's March.
This is
It's
March,
time.
baby. It's here.
It's here. So Here's a story for you. I was in the 7th grade. We had gone down on our spring break down to Destin, and Kentucky on our way back. Kentucky played the infamous West Virginia game.
Okay.
When we had John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, and we lost in the tournament. And we literally had to watch that game at some Mexican restaurant right outside of Birmingham because it was like the only restaurant like close by at game time. It was crunch time. We're trying to find a place to watch the game. And I mean, we shoot like 3 of 32 from the 3-point line, end up losing, heartbreaker in the Elite Eight. Like that sucked. So I get what you're saying. Back to what I was saying about Tom Crean. Do you kind of understand what I was saying about that? With like,
I do. I do. It's like, again, like I said earlier,
like not saying that's the best you can do, but for right now, that's the best we can do. And because of the state of the program. That was
like
my
I
point.
said, like I think the reason they wanted to get rid of Crean was because they couldn't handle the antics. They couldn't handle what was going on the sideline. They couldn't handle.
Didn't think he was the right guy for the job, handling kind of maybe like the PR side. Is that what you're
saying? Maybe. I think they felt that he started to take. And again, there's stuff that goes on in all programs that go on behind the scenes that the public eye doesn't see.
Yeah, of course.
And I've heard he was a pain in the ass and kind of behind the scenes, which
right.
That's just the way it is. I mean, Bob Knight was that way. I mean, all coaches are. I mean, come on, you're telling me John Calipari's not a pain in the rear end behind the scenes?
No, dude, he's burnt bridges with boosters. That's why he can't get a new practice facility right now because they're just sick of his crap. I mean, they just are. Like that's a tidbit for you might not have known.
So let me ask you this question. Let me interview you.
Yep.
Has John Calipari overstayed his welcome at Kentucky?
If we don't make it out of the round of 32 this year, yes, in my opinion.
They won't fire that guy, keep in mind.
Well, we can't. I mean, we owe him like $32 million, the lifetime contract.
They won't fire him. Yeah, they won't fire him.
But
he'll retire Kentucky Wildcat.
Well, he's got a clause this March that it's something like he can step down as an ambassador for the school, and he can continue to make $1 million each year if he wants to do that this March. So
with his age and the way he's getting, I would almost see. He's another one of those guys where if he left Kentucky or like if he retired from Kentucky, I could see him going and taking over like.
Oh, he's gonna go coach.
like the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah,
you know, or like a team in the NBA, kind of like how John Beeline was, and let it be like a victory lap.
See that, or man, I could almost see him be like Rick Pitino. I could see him go and want to.
Maybe.
I could see him want to go coach like a Big East school or something like that.
Maybe.
But
I would root for Cal. I know that you're a Kentucky fan and you don't really like, and you're kind of at odds with Cal, but
no, I love Cal. I love him. I love him to death.
I didn't like him for a while.
I love him. I'm just getting sick of losing in the first and second round. Like that's embarrassing. We're better than that.
Losing to St. Peter's.
Yeah, like in Evansville. Like I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed of not winning the SEC tournament. Yeah. Like we used to run the SEC. Like we are the SEC in basketball because the SEC is a football conference.
Yeah.
Like we have basketball. That's our thing.
And now Tennessee and Alabama, who were basketball or
and Auburn
schools, and Auburn, who were football schools, are now the top schools in the SEC.
And it pisses me off. I don't hate Cal.
And it should.
I love Cal. I get mad when he won't change. I get mad when he comes out in a press conference and acts like the fans don't know what they're talking about. I get mad when he won't take accountability. I get mad when we lose and he won't come out and talk on the radio and do his job. Like That's what comes
that,
with
as a radio guy, that makes me mad. I don't like that.
That's what comes with the territory of being the head coach at Kentucky.
Yeah.
Dude, I want that guy to go off as the greatest coach to ever come to Kentucky. Like when Cal is at his best, he is the best. Like for Kentucky. And I'm at odds with him in everything I just said. But that doesn't mean I don't like him. I love him. I want this thing to work out. But I'm telling you, and Matt Jones of Kentucky Sports Radio, he says the same thing, and I agree with him on this standpoint, and that's that if we lose in the round of 32 this year, or if we lose in the first round, it's gonna be like that marriage that is just no longer working out between the fans and Cal, that it's gonna get so ugly in Lexington that I just don't know. Like something's gonna have to give.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at with it right now.
I understand.
Because we expect too much as fans. Like we don't have the Pacers, we don't have the Colts, we don't have any of that. We have Kentucky basketball, and we have 7-5 Kentucky football. You know what I mean? Like
think about this as Indiana fans. We have 15-14 basketball, and we have 2-10 football.
Yeah, that sucks.
Hey, but I'll tell you what. Though.
Yeah,
we have a 28-6 women's basketball team.
Hey, yeah, y'all are good. And see, our women's basketball team is horrible. I mean, Elsie, I'm sure she's a great person, but she's just not doing it, not getting it done. Coach Mitchell before her was great. He just had a really weird accident where he had to stop coaching. So
I really love that IU women's basketball team. Have just such great pieces to be good. I really would like to see them get over the hump and make a Final Four. Just get in the Final Four.
What do you think about Jay Williams' comments about Caitlin Clark?
What did he say?
Oh, he basically just kind of said that he doesn't think she's like the best player to ever, or like
that's
I don't know. It was something along the lines of like best player in women's or best scorer or something like that. He said some stupid comments this year, dude. Like,
yeah, he's terrible. But
I used to like him though. I used to like Jay though.
Yeah, but he sucks. And here's what's funny is that Jay Williams really wasn't that great of a player.
Oh, really? You don't think so?
He didn't even really play in the NBA. He got
in that motorcycle accident. Yeah,
but he couldn't really play. I mean, he was good, but like he wasn't what he thinks he is.
Well, I feel bad for him there. I mean, that's a freak accident, but I see what you're saying. But
going back to Caitlin Clark, again, punk. No way around it. She's a punk. Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I respect her game because she's the greatest women's basketball player I've ever seen.
She's a dog.
And here's what makes me mad is I have buddies who will be like, oh, well, I would beat Caitlin Clark one-on-one. No, you wouldn't, dude. You wouldn't.
She'd pull up from the parking lot, man.
I know. Like a buddy of mine would be like, oh, well, she would probably beat me in a shooting competition. But like anything other than that, I'm like, number one, you don't know ball. All right. Number one, you don't know ball. Number two, just say you're sexist, bruh.
Yeah.
That's all you got to say. I mean, I just think I think this narrative of that, well, the average guy could go be or the average, high school boys basketball team could beat a WNBA team. That for a lack of a better term is a bunch of shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's crazy. Like, I mean, dude, she's pulling up. She's from fun the logo. To watch. She's pulling up from the logo.
She is. See, I don't like her attitude. I don't like the way she
her persona.
I don't like the way she conducts herself.
I see that.
But here's the thing: she declared for the WNBA draft today, which the Indiana Fever have the number 1 pick. And
that would be crazy.
It's no secret. Like she's already pretty much publicly said like she's gonna play for the Fever.
Dude, that's awesome. That's gonna be huge for Indy.
Well, it was cool because like before we got on here, I actually got on to look at the Fever tickets for opening night.
Yeah.
The cheapest ticket to like sit up top, $400 for a WNBA game.
That has to be the most sought after ticket in Fever history.
No question. She's going to change the game.
I mean, that's great.
She's going to change the WNBA. Yeah, it is great. And like back in the 80s, they said that Magic and Larry Bird revived the NBA, saved the NBA.
Yeah.
She has potential, I think, to save the WNBA. I do.
Right.
I've never been to a WNBA game, never had a desire to go to one. I'll go to one.
That's awesome. No, I've never been either. I mean, but obviously you live a lot closer to Indy.
Well, I've never even really been in a position to go to one anyways.
Me either.
You know.
And they're during the summer too. So it's baseball season and you know.
It's baseball season for you. It's still basketball season for me. It just it ain't really go. It isn't really taking off as much.
Right. So you wanted to get into the Ohio Valley Conference tournament.
Yes, let's briefly touch on that. I got my bracket sitting here. I filled it out the other day.
Okay, so that's in my hometown of Evansville, the Ford Center, the beautiful Ford Center, baby. I was just there for a hockey game 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay. The Thunderbolts.
The Thunderbolts. It was not good hockey, but we went and had $3 beers, and it was great. So.
But, see, I've never been to a minor league hockey game. I always wanted to go to one. Just say I've been to one. I've been to like thousands of minor league baseball games. But
I mean, you see, I'm repping my Predators tonight.
Yep, the Preds.
They've won 7 in a row, so I'm like really hyped. But my first ever NHL game was, I mean, I sat 7 rows up from the ice at a Predators game. So I go back to Evansville, and they were called the Evansville Icemen at the time. Go back to that, man. And it's just like, I got so spoiled. It wasn't fair for the Icemen. And once you go to an NHL game, like, it's just kind of like, you're really just there to socialize.
I've always wanted to go to one.
You need to go to a Fuel game.
I've thought about that.
The Cincinnati Cyclones, they're in the same league as the Fuel. Like, they're big rivals, and that's 2 steps behind the NHL. It's called the ECHL, and it's good hockey. Like, it's pretty good hockey. I mean,
what are the Thunderbolts in then?
I don't even know.
Why are we talking hockey on a college basketball podcast anyway?
Hey, you brought it up. I don't know.
I know, that's my bad.
I don't know.
My bad.
We can switch back, but you need to go to an Indy Fuel game. You'd enjoy it.
Well, I could go to a Fort Wayne Comets game, which is
they're in the ECHL as well.
They're a little closer to my house.
I think they're in the ECHL too as well.
They play the Fuel.
Yeah, so they're big rivals.
Oh yeah.
And Evansville used to be in the same conference, the Icemen, but they're the Thunderbolts now, and I don't even know what. I don't even know how they still have a team because there was like nobody there, and it was a Friday. It was a Friday night, and there was nobody there. Yeah,
because it's prime basketball season. They were all out at the basketball games. What are you talking about?
Yeah. I mean, probably. You're probably, dude. It's
all right,
Evansville.
All right.
Back to college basketball. All right,
let's
OVC.
go back to the OVC tournament.
Don't get me started. I love hockey, so we can talk hockey, but let's get back to the OVC.
I don't know anything about the OVC tournament. I thought, I was thinking about the other day, and I was like, isn't that OVC down in Evansville? And I was like, let me look that up. So I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, shoot.
All right, so run through the teams.
I may want to go to that.
Run through the teams.
Well, the projected 1 and 2 seeds. I just looked at the standings and filled out my bracket that way.
Okay.
The projected 1 seed is Morehead State.
Yeah.
The projected 2 seed is UT Martin.
Okay.
Little Rock's a good team. He was just playing here on national television a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Western Illinois is a good one. I'll just go through all of them. Western Illinois, Tennessee State, Tennessee Tech, SIU Edwardsville, which I actually saw play at Ball State back in December.
Okay.
And then, like we talked about earlier with Marty Simmons, Eastern Illinois.
Okay.
Which I would actually probably root for Eastern Illinois and Marty Simmons. IU guy played. He was a Knight guy, played for Knight. Knight rode him
He
hard.
was a U of E guy. That's why I'll root for him.
Yeah, yeah. He
but yeah.
Knight rode him hard.
Well, that's why he transferred to Evansville.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's exactly why. We'll get into that later. But anyways, when we talk more about Bob Knight, the OVC, a good mid-major conference.
Yeah. Well, Murray State came from there. Murray State's in the MVC now. They came from there, and they have a pretty good basketball tradition from who they are.
Ja Morant.
Johnny Broom, who plays for Auburn, he transferred from Morehead State. He went to Morehead State originally.
Morehead State?
No, Morehead State.
Okay.
Yeah, Morehead State. And they had Kenneth Fareed, who hit the shot against Louisville in the tournament. I don't know if you remember that. That was a long time ago.
I remember Kenneth Fareed.
Yeah, they upset Louisville, which was huge in the state of Kentucky, which was pretty awesome. I don't know much about the OVC. I used to because of like Murray, but I really don't anymore. But I would tell you, if you are looking to go to that, you will have fun. The Ford Center is a great venue. Have you been to Evansville before?
I have. When I was little, my grandparents lived down in Petersburg, Indiana.
Yeah.
Just outside of Washington.
Yep.
And I loved when they lived there because to me
Oakland
that was
City
like,
area.
Yeah, that was really cool where they lived down there because we were close to Holiday World. We went to Holiday World a lot. We were down by Evansville. Actually, I remember one time going to Evansville with my grandparents. I was real little. I was maybe 5, 6 years old at the earliest. And the Ford Center had just opened, and we went to like an open house thing for it where like they opened it up to the public. Like you could come in and tour it and everything and look at it and, sit in the stands, and everything, which we did, which was fun. That was the one time I went to it, and I had been there. I've never been to an event there, but I'm thinking about going to this OVC tournament. I don't know when I'll go.
You like pizza?
Yeah.
Got to hit Taroni's. Got to go to Taroni's in Evansville.
They have good pizza.
Best pizza ever.
Well, how about you come over next week on Thursday and meet me, and we'll go.
I mean, I'm down. I think I could swing that. I think I could swing that.
At 6:30 and at 9.
Is USI not in the
Yes,
Ohio
they
Valley?
are. Yes, they. Well, they weren't in the top thing. Like only like the top 8 teams make the tournament. They weren't in the top 8. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Got to have some parity there.
Yeah.
I mean that's cool, but like that sucks for USI. That's and I guess that's kind of where I was going to go with us talking about this, is just kind of how, like, I get it, how they should maybe be suspended for a year or whatever in not being able to go to the tournament.
I think that rule's a bunch of shit.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. The same thing happened to Bellarmine a couple of years ago.
They won the A-Sun.
They won the A-Sun, dude. It was awesome. They had a great their coach, I actually worked with his son at my previous job.
What's his name? Scott Davenport, the coach?
Yep. And Russ, his son, is who I worked with. But bullshit. I mean, it was and like I get it. I get it for the first year. Like it kind of makes sense, but those schools need to start making money, man. And if they go to if they make it into the tournament, March Madness, they're making money,
Mm-hmm.
And they're also not just making money; they're gaining followers. People outside of Indiana probably don't even know USI.
Yeah.
But Bellarmine probably not either.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's crap, and that's basically where I wanted to get at with.
That's how Fairleigh Dickinson got into the tournament last year. Because if you remember right, Fairleigh Dickinson did not win their conference tournament. They did not technically earn an automatic qualifier, but because the team they played in Merrimack was not eligible for the tournament, then regardless of if FDU had won that tournament championship or not, they were going to make the tournament.
Right.
So, and the stars aligned correctly because they
Well,
played
yeah.
in the first 4 at Dayton.
Yeah.
Tobin Anderson comes in the locker room, who after that became one of my all-time favorite coaches for this reason. Comes in the locker room and says, "The more I watch Purdue, the more I think we can beat them."
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. That was awesome.
I remember hearing that, and then I kind of thought about it the day of the game, and then it started, and it got going and everything, and I started watching them play and how it started to unfold, and I was like, damn, he might be right.
Right.
You know, I was like,
yeah.
Because like, I wanted to like, I text my buddy, and all I said was, and he's an IU fan too, so we were obviously rooting against Purdue. And I texted him and Purdue. I texted him and I said, dude, like, what if this actually happens? Is what I said. I was like, what if this actually happens?
He called it. He called game.
Yeah. And it was crazy as an IU fan because they had already played and IU wasn't supposed to play till later that night. And a lot of people had IU losing in an upset to Kent State.
Yeah.
And so I was like, God, dude. I was like, God, dude, they lost this game. And I was like, Indiana has to win now.
Yeah,
they have to win.
We lost to St. Peter's, so I can't really. Or no. No, what year was this? I'm sorry.
This was last year in 2023.
Yeah,
St. Peter's was 2020.
Was the year before, and St. Peter's also beat Purdue the year before.
Yeah. And see, here's my thing: is that I was thinking about this the other day. St. Peter's will always have the greatest tournament run. Went all the way to the Elite Eight, as a 15 seed. But FDU will, and that run that they had can be surpassed and will be at some point. But FDU's upset over Purdue, I don't think we'll have upsets. There will be upsets every year, but there will never be an upset bigger than that one.
No. Well, I mean, no, but Virginia too. Virginia got beat by UMBC. That was pretty big too.
Yeah, but here's my thing, and you can't argue that one. UMBC beat them by 20.
Yeah.
UMBC beat them by 20. But here's my thing: is that FDU was Purdue was favored by more in the game against FDU than Virginia was against UMBC. And so Purdue losing that game after having the biggest player in college basketball.
Yeah.
Having one of the largest teams in college basketball against Fairleigh Dickinson, who was statistically the smallest team in college basketball.
Yep.
I think their tallest guy was like 6'6".
No. I mean,
they were the shortest team in all of Division I, and beat Purdue with the National Player of the Year with a guy who was 7'4". And that's where I think Purdue's going to get beat this year, is if they have to go up against a team of an FDU caliber with guards who are quick.
If they play a team like Kentucky or Alabama, I mean, I just don't know how. I just don't think they could keep up with a team like that. I mean, I don't.
It all comes down to if they have quick guards.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
If they have quick guards, if Kentucky has quick guards that can get out and run, yeah, they do.
And so does Alabama.
If they have, but Purdue beat Alabama.
Well, that's true. I forgot about that. I did forget about that. But if you get what I'm saying. That was an example.
If you have teams that can get out and run in transition, Zach Edey can't run, dude.
No, that's what I'm saying.
He can't move up and down the floor. Sorry.
We've got 3 guys that can all run. Our 7-footers. But like you're saying, if you go small ball in Purdue, I just don't. Basketball is just different, man. Like back in 2005, Purdue would have probably won a title. Because that's how you used to play college basketball. You don't play it that way anymore. You don't play it with you build it around a big, and that's why Kentucky had so many struggles with Big O, with Oscar, because they built the team around him, and you just don't win. Like there was no offense, and you got teams nowadays scoring 100 points a game. Like it's just not the same anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think Purdue's great. Like I think you're not gonna like it, but I think like Brandon Smith, he's good. Fletcher Lawyer's fun to watch.
Oh no! I disagree with you.
You disagree?
I disagree. They're a great team.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I'm. Okay, I get what you're saying.
They're no. They're fun to watch. They are. I mean, they're fun. If I wasn't an IU fan, I'll be honest with you, they'd probably be my favorite team to watch.
Yeah,
seriously, it's hard. It's hard for me to sit here and I respect the game. I do.
Yeah.
I always will respect the game, but it's hard for me to sit here and watch that team and
be happy with it, be content with it,
and be like, God, like why can't?
Dude, it's like me in Tennessee. It's like me in Tennessee right now.
Yeah.
I can't stand it. But I also think we're going to beat them. I also think we're going to beat them at Thompson Boyne at the end of the season. I don't think they're going to sweep us. But Dalton Knecht he's just unreal. I mean, he's a stud.
Again, like I watch Purdue and I just think to watch them have all this great regular season success, and I think to myself, why can't this be Indiana? Why can't Indiana not be at that standard either? Because from 1971 to the year 2000, they were at that standard.
Yeah.
They were.
I mean, I wasn't really around for it, but yeah.
I wasn't either, but I could tell you all about it.
But it all boils down to that's why I just don't think Mike would it's almost like, I don't want to say they've given up, but it's like, go get the right coach, man. Like, you all should be able to go get the right coach. You're Indiana. You should be able to hire not whoever you want, maybe, but you should be able to find a guy to be successful at Indiana. You have the fan base. You have the state to recruit out of, 100%.
Yeah,
because Purdue's doing it. Purdue's doing it.
Yeah,
Purdue's
exactly.
taking Indiana guys.
Yeah, Purdue is taking the Indiana guys. And when Bob Knight was at Indiana, he was able to get the Indiana guys. You know why? Do you want to know why? Because every kid in Indiana wanted to play at Indiana.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't want to go to freaking Butler or Notre Dame or Purdue. They wanted to be at Indiana because they all grew up watching Indiana, because Indiana, like I said earlier at that time, was the face of college basketball. So, yeah, I would have wanted to play at Indiana too if Bob Knight was coming to knock it on my door to come and recruit me.
And that's what I'm saying. It's sad.
It makes me so mad.
Yeah, I mean, it's
and it's like last night. Like Matt Painter is down watching Trent Sisley from Heritage Hills.
Yeah,
going to watch him play. The staff at Notre Dame was watching Braden Mullins from Greenfield Central.
Where's Mike
Woodson? What was he doing? He was sitting on his ass at home.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying.
Sad. It's it's not like they were out of state or something, like getting ready to go play a game. Like, they don't play again. They don't play again till next week.
Yeah.
Like, come on, Mike.
Yeah.
Like that's just sad.
It's the retirement plan. I'm telling you. Whoever said that, if it was Dockich or whoever said it, I think they're right.
And it's like, I mean, Bob Knight, dude. Have you heard the story about him and Damon Bailey?
Probably not. Maybe.
Bob Knight went to go watch Damon Bailey when he played at the middle school in Bedford when he was in 8th grade. He went to go watch Damon Bailey.
Right.
They said at that game when Bob Knight and his staff, you'll read it in Season on the Brink.
Okay.
Which I bought. Which is a really good book. You'll read about it because that was the year that happened, where John Feinstein wrote the book, was the year he went to go watch Damon play.
I'm really excited to read that.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Because I've told you, I mean, rest in peace, man. Rest in peace. It's never fine when anybody passes away. I don't care if it's your worst enemy. He was college basketball. He was could have been the governor of Indiana. He was the mayor of Bloomington. The only thing I had with him is just obviously the comments he had on Cal, which, I mean, back then I see why he said it, but all that shit was going on. I mean, it wasn't just Kentucky, it wasn't just Calipari. And then there was one story. I don't know if you know Joe B. Hall. He followed Rupp, Kentucky. Just a great guy. Like
Yeah.
not an asshole. Just
See, well, Bob Knight actually went and spoke.
no. They
at,
were buddies
yeah,
apparently.
yeah. He went and he spoke at
Yeah.
Joe B. Hall's roast when he
Which
turned 50 years
I'll
old.
put that link in the description when I post this because I've so people can watch it. I showed my dad. He thought it was hilarious.
It's
Yeah,
hilarious.
it is funny. It is funny. He's like, yeah. I'll just put the link in. But there was a story that I heard about either we beat you all or Indiana beat us or something like that. It had to have been us winning because apparently Joe B wore glasses and apparently Bob Knight went up, took his glasses off, and threw them. And I was just always told that story. So I was like, screw you. Like,
And I've never heard that story. So I mean,
maybe
I'm not saying
maybe it's made up. Hey, maybe it's made up.
Well, I'm not saying it's not true. I've just never heard that.
Yeah.
And again, typical Bob Knight thing that probably happened.
But it sounds right, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
see, one of the greatest stories was when Steve Alford was playing at Indiana, and see, Knight did not tolerate any NCAA violations. The guy never had one NCAA violation against him. Never cheated.
Yeah.
Never once had a scandal against him. All had the cleanest program, and that's why Indiana was so good back in the day because they had such a clean program.
See, and that's why John Wooden, like, cheater. He was a cheater. Like
we'll get to that in a minute.
Well, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So here's my thing with Knight is that and Alford is that Alford and not to blame Alford, but he didn't know the rules. And
no, I know what you're about to say. Yeah, I know what you're about to say.
For the people that don't know this story,
with the sorority.
Yeah. He posed for a calendar to raise money for a sorority on campus at IU. And one day at practice, Chuck Crabb, who was an assistant AD and also was the longtime PA guy, not a great PA guy, but his voice was legendary throughout Assembly Hall. He was the voice of Assembly Hall. He's standing down there with Bob Knight one time at practice with this calendar, and Knight calls Steve over, and he was like, "What's this?" And he was like, "I just posed for a calendar." And he was like, "Do you not realize that's against NCAA violations?" So he suspended him, or no, the NCAA came in and suspended him for a game or two. Well, it was before they played Kentucky.
On the road. I know, I've heard this
on
story.
the road at Kentucky. So
and he had to walk back. Yeah.
So he didn't know what to do if he should even go on the trip. So before they left, he got on the bus to go to the airport.
Because he thought that's what he was supposed to do.
Right. He thought he's just gonna go and sit on the bench. So anyways, he goes and gets on the bus. They get off to go on the tarmac to get on the plane to fly down to Lexington. And Knight would always be the last one off the bus. And when you would walk by, he would slap you on the back, say, let's go get him, whatever. Yeah. So Alford's walking by and he walks by him and he slaps him. And then he takes a step and then Knight pulls him back and grabs him. And goes,
what are you doing here?
Yeah. He goes, what are you doing here? And he was like, well, I didn't know if I was supposed to go. And he goes, you ain't going, dude.
And you got to figure out how to get back home.
Yeah. Figure out how to get back. And so they left him. And so he started walking back towards Bloomington, and the bus driver
said, "You need a ride."
Picked him up and gave him a ride.
Yeah.
Or there was the time that they had a guy named Mike Giomi who played at Indiana and actually was one of the rare ones that didn't stick it out and transferred. Yeah. Transferred to North Carolina State, had a great career there. And it was after a game at Ohio State one time, and he played awful. And Knight left him at Ohio State. God. Told him to find his own way back. Yeah. Left him at Ohio State.
The same thing kind of happened during the Billy Gillespie era at Kentucky.
There's some lean years right there.
Oh, don't get me started. Yeah. I mean, he did a lot of this, a lot of drinking, too much. I mean, there's crazy stories about him like going out to the bars and just kind of a sad situation, really. I don't know if you've ever heard this one though with him. It was so we had a kid by the name of Alex Legion, I believe he
Okay.
was a McDonald's All-American.
Okay.
Um, Alex Legion had a girlfriend, blonde girl. She was pretty.
She was hot.
And yeah, and Gillespie ended up hanging out with her, and the rest is history. I'm not kidding. And Legion transferred to Illinois the same season
Oh
in the
wow.
middle of the year.
Because Billy Gillespie stole his girl.
Yes,
Wow.
that is the story.
Wow.
That is the story. And Billy Clyde, man,
Or
he was here to party. He was
here,
here to party.
here's a good Bob Knight story for you. So back in the day, they obviously had Isaiah Thomas, who's maybe one of the greatest point guards ever in the NBA.
Yeah,
He
I
played on
love
the
Isaiah. I
yeah
mean,
yeah
I mean, I never got to see him play, but just hearing him talk and
one of the
I
nicest
respect.
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
respect.
he was a really good player at Indiana. Obviously, played in the NBA and played on the 1981 national championship team. So he there was a guy that played on his team by the name of Jim Thomas.
Yeah.
Jim Thomas was a solid player. Well, finally, there was a time they had enough of Knight, dude. They were tired of him, couldn't deal with him anymore. And I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Isaiah tells this story. They planned and plotted they were going to kill him.
Oh my
They had a
gosh.
gun. They had a gun. They knew where he walked out of to go to his car every day. They were going to hide. And when he walked out of the assembly hall, they were going to shoot him and kill him.
So where'd you hear this story from?
This Isaiah told this story.
Oh, he told the story.
Yeah, he
Okay.
told this story. And it may be a little over exaggerated, but that they actually had a gun and they were going to shoot him when he came out. And so
Good
it came
God.
time to execute the plan to shoot him. And it gets time and it's about to go down. And Isaiah looks at Jim Thomas, who they weren't related to each other, by the way.
Yeah.
And he looks at Jim Thomas and he was like, "You got the gun?" And he was like, "I thought you had it." And then it didn't end up happening. It didn't end up happening. And then the next day at practice, they were all good.
God, dude. Yeah, that could have been pretty bad.
Yeah.
Could have been really bad. So, buddy, I think we've told a lot of stories, hopefully a lot of stories that everybody will enjoy listening to. Let's wrap this thing up because it is getting late and we've gone a while. I don't want to keep going and it
Yeah, I'm
get
tired.
too boring for the listeners.